Compay.
Alright, now here's a video that I've been waiting for a video to come out like this. This is Laughingstock Media presents 10 things that Dragon Ball GT did better than Dragon Ball Super so far. And to me, I mean, I'm not one of those people who hated GT. All right, I hated the theme song. I felt that some things, you know, could have focused on other characters more or whatever. But there's a lot of ridiculous power scaling. But there was a lot about GT I liked. Super is still so fresh that it's still just overbearing that it's been a remake off of 2 movies, you know. But they're progressing into the next little arc. So, but yeah, this is a nice little comparison of the two, and I am just dying to check this out because I know I've missed a lot with regards to each of them, because GT came out when I was so much younger, and I never watched it again. I just watched it through, and Super I haven't even seen everything. I've mainly been watching Mike's reviews on it, so I want to know. I want to know where the ranking lies on this and what's what. Join me on this little journey, will you? Laughingstock Media presents 10 things Dragon Ball GT did better than Dragon Ball Super so far. Go.
Hey guys, it's Mike here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another video on Dragon Ball Super. In this video, myself and my guests who I'm going to be introducing shortly are going to be talking about the 10 things Dragon Ball GT did better than Dragon Ball Super has done thus far. But before we begin, I'm going to introduce my very special guest for this video, someone who you're all familiar with. And you can go check out the other video that we did, the 10 things that Dragon Ball Super has done better than Dragon Ball GT thus far, over on his channel, and his name is...
Hi.
That's, you know, his name is Hi, my name is Bai.
Well, no, I'm high and you're bi, is what you're trying to say. Oh, no.
No. So this is the illustrious Geekdom 101, Big D himself. And today we're going to be listing off 5 different things from our points of view, adding up to 10 that Dragon Ball GT did better than Dragon Ball Super has done thus far. So to start everything off with, what's your first pick?
All right, in no particular order, the 5 things or 10 things that GT did better than Super so far. I'm going to start with Golden Oozaru. I really love the Golden Grade 8 form. I've said it before, it's actually my favorite of the post-SSJ2 transformations. I know a lot of guys love SS4. I absolutely adore Golden Oozaru because it's a throwback to the lore that the anime established with Vegeta talking about the legendary warrior. And so when you see it for the first time in GT, you're like, oh, so that's the real, like, form. Yeah. And I felt that even though it may have been a little too brief, I wish they would have shown it off more. I just love the concept of a golden great ape. The great ape is the initial transformation. The golden great ape is like the transformation, you know, on steroids, almost literally. I love that idea. I thought it was great they put it in there.
Yeah, I always thought it was pretty cool. It definitely harkens back to that, you know, flashback from the anime. But of course, my first pick is going to be that the continuity in Dragon Ball GT was actually better than so far from what we see in Dragon Ball Super, because the fact that Dragon Ball GT takes place after the original manga, so it's much easier to fit in there than trying to fit a whole series in between the 10-year gap. Not to mention that even though GT does have plot holes, the fact of the matter is, you know, Dragon Ball Super kind of introduces a new plot hole, or at least for the first 2 arcs, introduced a new one like every episode, whereas GT introduces one like every few episodes. So the fact of the matter is, I would have to say that the continuity, the plot holes, and inconsistencies are better in Dragon Ball GT than in Dragon Ball Super has been thus far.
I agree, and the problem with Super is that Toei has had problems making it kind of fit with that 10-year gap. It's been a problem from the beginning, and there's a lot of, you know, there's time skips in Super that don't really explain. At least with GT, even though the dub says 10 years, which is wrong, it's actually 5 years. If you watch it, you know, with the 5 years, which is the correct way, you know, that's all we know. Like, we actually know when it happens. That's the thing that, you know, I think GT does better. My number 4 or number 2 or whatever, again, this is a matter of opinion. I feel that the animation / artwork is more consistent in GT and better. Now, I'm generally much more of a fan of cell animation from back in the day, more than the CGI kind of computer-generated graphics of the modern era.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I'm not going to diss on Super completely and say the animation sucks, but you never had animation moments in GT that were quite like the ones in Super. And what's funny about GT is that even though Toriyama did design the initial characters, as far as the artwork goes, Nakatsuru was the man who designed SS4. He also designed a lot of the villains and things like that. And I think Nakatsuru is a very, very, very talented artist, and I think he did a fantastic job with GT. If you go back and you watch GT again, okay, you can hate GT all you want to. It doesn't matter what you think about the storyline. The artwork is absolutely beautiful. I love watching the colors, how vibrant it is. I love how the 10 times Kamehameha is like red. It just looks really, really good. GT looks great. You cannot deny that.
Absolutely. I think it looks better than certain episodes of Dragon Ball Super have thus far, and aesthetically, I do prefer the original cel-shaded or just cell animation in general. Moving on to my next pick would have to be the Shadow Dragon concept. I really like the Shadow Dragons, that whole idea harkening back to the original Dragon Ball Z, the old Kai's warning of overusing the Dragon Balls and the problem, you know, that they could eventually create as a result of that. Also, on top of that, just the idea that every single wish that they made in the series up to that point actually leading to the ultimate villains of the series ties everything together in a nice bow, and I really like that. The Dragon Balls are the final thing they have to overcome. And to me, that also ties into the last narration that Toriyama said in the original Dragon Ball Z manga of, don't worry, the Dragon Balls, you know, the heroes will actually be there to save the day in the future now, while not really relying as much on the Dragon Balls as the actual people themselves. And especially with Goku when he absorbs those Dragon Balls in the end, definitely feel like that's a nice touch and something that Dragon Ball GT has definitely done very well.
I agree with you. And my next pick goes right along with that. And right along with my last pick, and I love the design of the Shadow Dragons. Just a design, because Nakatsuru, as far as my homework that I've done, Nakatsuru designed the Shadow Dragons. It may have been Yamamuro, but I'm pretty sure it was Nakatsuru. I may have to double check that, but I love the Shadow Dragon design. I love how the Black Smoke Dragon has a cigar, like that kind of touch. Like, it reminds me of Heel Doink from '93 with the cigar. And I love how every dragon has its own element, like you talked about, but I just love the way that they actually look. And if you study like Toriyama's art, especially with Dragon Quest, more so than Dragon Ball, Toriyama has to design a whole bunch of different dragons for Dragon Quest, and they all look very different. And some people think that the dragons in the Shadow Dragon arc don't really look like dragons, and I kind of respect that because they really don't.
Yeah.
I still love the way they look. The fire, the ice, Omega with the spikes all over his body. I think they're very badass looking characters.
Whoa. Omega? Don't you mean,
Yi Shenron. Omega's what it's called in the dub. But actually, I'm going to say this. I actually prefer the name Omega Shenron more because it just sounds more badass. Omega.
And it's much easier to pronounce. My next pick is going to be that the Japanese score in GT is actually more consistent than Sumitomo's score, in my opinion. And the reason for that is just because I definitely prefer the overall score that they have in GT in the Japanese. Now, I hate the Mark Menza score. I just have to put that out there. I never liked it. I always felt like it just, like, grungy. It just does not fit with Dragon Ball in my eyes. It just made everything seem that much
Glad
more
we agree on
lackluster.
that.
But the score and the music in the Japanese Dragon Ball GT is excellent, and when I've actually gone back and rewatched the series in recent times, it's definitely helped me to get through it a lot more than when they actually had the overall English music, which, I mean, I'm not a real fan of dubbing over, English music into Japanese or whatever foreign shows in the first place, and that's definitely something that I didn't like in the actual English version of GT as well, and the Japanese score I thought was very well done.
Agreed. My next one, my last two kind of go together. I hope that people don't get mad at this, but I think they are two different things. Part one of my last two here, I love the Sifurian lore. I love that, my number one is all about Baby, and I'm going to spoil it now, but we'll talk about it in a moment.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I love the Sifurian lore because I love how we have these villains that pretty much came back, from Planet Vegeta from years and years and years ago. They still are out there in space, in deep space, and I love the fact that Dr. Miyu and Baby have this plot to get revenge on King Vegeta, and I love the fact that it actually kind of like makes sense in that, I mean, you could make an argument that Baby maybe is one of the best and more developed villains of the entire series because he actually has legitimate beef, and I love how we find out more about them, and I love how the writers of GT played up into that story, which Toriyama did right. That is a Toriyama story that he gave to the animation team about the Sifurians, about the Sufurujin, or the Tuffles in the dub, and I love that. I love that GT expands upon that story because I've always been very fascinated with the story of the Civil War on Planet Vegeta, and now we get like this cool like revenge plot.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that about GT.
And speaking of Baby, spoilers, let's talk about the form that killed Baby, and that is Super Saiyan 4. I love Super Saiyan 4. I love the design. I thought it's great, just a great transformation. Obviously, it wasn't originally supposed to be a Super Saiyan form in the first place. It was supposed to be something different, a completely different evolution of the Saiyan form, to be a true Saiyan, with the hair. It just looks badass, I mean? It's probably my favorite transformation, to be perfectly honest, in the entire franchise, although I love Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and I love the context surrounding Super Saiyan 2, although it's kind of squandered in the Buu saga. Super Saiyan 4, just awesome. Love it. Powerful, kicks ass, better than Super Saiyan 3, which was useless. It actually accomplishes something. Definitely my favorite transformation.
Definitely a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Another Nakatsuru creation. So there you go.
But what's your next pick?
Yeah, well, my number one or whatever is Baby as a villain. I love this character as a villain. I love that he has legitimate beef. I love that he's this like slimy little weasel who has the ability to infest you through a wound in your body and make you into one of his zombies.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Like, that's so creative. Like, they took kind of some ideas from, like, I hate to say it, but from the Garlic Jr. saga with the zombies and from, like, Majin Buu, and they combined it. And I just love the fact that this guy is so dedicated that he actually came to Earth and pretty much took all the Z-Fighters and made them all zombies.
Yeah.
I just think that Baby, in many ways, might actually be my favorite villain in Dragon Ball. My favorite villain is probably going to be Frieza, because I think he has the most lore, but I think Baby has the second most lore. And I just really like the creativity they put behind Baby and the fact that he was able to match up Goku and kick his ass on many occasions until Goku got SS4. They haven't introduced a villain in Super yet that is as cool as Baby, in my opinion.
No, I mean, the thing is that with Baby, I talked about this with Dragon Ball Nation on his channel, which you can go check out in a video. Baby had the potential to be the best villain in the series, and there are some people who can obviously argue that he is. I just feel like he could have been done a little bit better, and they could have played up the idea of how he's actually a hero, how evil the Saiyans were, and stuff like that. Maybe, flip it on its head rather than trying to make it seem like he's a pure... I mean, when you think about Baby, is not only a hero for the Tuffles in some ways, but also a weapon, like a biological weapon, like a xenomorph in some ways that you drop on a planet, like in Prometheus, and all hell breaks loose, or like Alien versus Predators. And I thought that it's just such a dynamic and interesting character that we really haven't seen in Dragon Ball other than that. So that's definitely something I really liked. But yeah, I mean, Baby is definitely a great pick. But moving on, I definitely think that for my final pick, it's going to be something that a lot of people have been contentious about for a very long time, and that would be the end of Z, or in specifically expanding upon the ending of Z. Now, the thing is that the end of Z people have just disliked for a long time because it's, Goku goes off with this random kid who is the incarnation of Buu. Why didn't he go with his kids and train train? Why is he going away? People have kind of been contentious about it for a long time, but in this case, with the ending of Z, it gets expanded upon. We get to know more about Oob. We get to actually see his train with Goku, and we get to see what happens afterwards. So the people who kind of felt like that wasn't a real good ending to Dragon Ball Z, they got to see some stuff happen afterwards. And whereas with Super, we kind of know how the series of Dragon Ball Z is going to end unless it goes past GT. With actually GT, we see it continue to go on, and eventually it becomes, you know, Dragon Ball GT, a whole series that takes place afterwards. So I think in a lot of ways, that's actually a good thing that Dragon Ball GT did, expanding upon the overall ideas that actually were the end and seeing exactly how they would play out. And it wouldn't just be character going off into the distance, the end. They actually tied up some loose ends.
That's it.
So yeah, this has been the 10 things that we think that Dragon Ball GT did better than Dragon Ball Super thus far. Don't forget to go check out the other video, the 10 things that Dragon Ball Super has done better than Dragon Ball GT thus far, on Big D's channel. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell us what your own 10 things are. And of course, as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Oh, subscribe. Do it now.
Guys, what are you waiting for?
Subscribe!
Obviously, top 10 things on my biceps, triceps, and some other muscles I can't count to 10.
Gains. Oh.
And you better subscribe.
Subscribe! They nailed it on the head for a lot of my things. And, yeah, I never much... I didn't much care for the dragons. I thought Sin Shenron looked cool. I didn't much care for Omega. I thought it was just basically a really sharp Broly. But no, the cohesiveness of the story, the other villains, like I loved the Super Android 17 saga. Like that's probably my favorite. Now I'm not saying Super Android 17 is my favorite villain. I really thought that one was cool. As far as my favorite villain goes, primarily I like Cell because he came equipped with so much plot armor. You know, if you're gonna go into a fight, bring plot armor. But I'd never really stopped to consider that Baby really was like a champion. He was like a hero. A kind of sadistic and warped and bent hero. But nonetheless, he was fighting for his race, which was essentially just mauled and overpowered by the Saiyans. So that's cool. Thanks for sort of giving me that paradigm, Big D. Anyways, I'm going to make sure to put the link to this video in the description. I'm also going to put the link to Big D's channel, Geekdom, in the description, so that you guys can go over there and check out the other one, because I haven't checked out that other one yet. I'm going to make another video based off that one, but you guys should check it out anyways, raw, and throw some likes and subscriptions out there to Mike and Big D. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next vid. Peace.